Okay, at this time, I call to order the regular meeting of Monday, April 24th, 2023 to order. I ask all who have not signed in, please do so. Please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices, and please conduct any private conversations in the hallway or outside. This room is equipped with an inductive loop hearing assistance system. You'll be able to hear conversations through the microphones on your hearing aids with a T-switch. Emergency exits can be found to your right and to your left. And please note this meeting is also live streamed via YouTube with text commenting available. At this time, if you please join the town board in a salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just one quick housekeeping item before we have the town clerk read the public hearing notice. As we do at our last meeting of every month, try to identify employees who will be celebrating birthday in the upcoming month. And on May 2nd, Town Councilman Mike Guinan will be celebrating a birthday. On the 13th, birthday wishes to Sandy Baxter, Dana Snyder on the 22nd, Kim Reese on the 27th. Well, we have another meeting before then. We'll celebrate. And Kathy Rayburn on the 29th. So happy birthday to those 5 individuals. Our town board meetings in the month of May will be on Monday the 8th and Monday the 22nd. And on Memorial Day, the 29th of this month, next month, all town facilities will be closed. So at this time, we'll ask the town clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
A notice of public hearing pursuant to Article 2 of the New York Eminent Domain Procedure Law for the acquisition of certain real property located in the town of Victor, scheduled for Monday, April 24th, 2023 at 7 p.m., was published in the Daily Messenger newspaper and the Finger Lakes Times, and was posted on the Town of Victor website and on the bulletin boards at the Victor Town and Village Halls.
Good evening. My name is Frank Pavi, and I am the designated public hearing officer in connection with this evening's public hearing being conducted by the town of Victor in accordance with the New York Eminent Domain Procedure Law, also referred to as the EDPL. We are here this evening on the 24th day of April 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, located at 85 East Main Street, to open and conduct a public hearing concerning the proposed acquisition by the town of certain real property comprising of one tax parcel and approximately 8.4 acres in connection with the proposed public project, all as outlined during the public hearing. As used in today's hearing, the terms acquisition, real property, and public project have the meanings ascribed to those terms in the EDPL, and public project may also be referred to this hearing as the redevelopment project. This public hearing is being conducted pursuant to the EDPL in order to inform the public and to review the public use and benefit to be served by the redevelopment project and the impact on the environment and the residents of the locality near the redevelopment project. In accordance with the EDPL, notice of this public hearing was duly published in the Daily Messenger as well as in the Finger Lakes Times. Those notices are hereby submitted and entered into the record of this public hearing as Exhibit A. Can you please hand that down to the stenographer? Any person in attendance at this public hearing will be given a reasonable opportunity to present oral or written statements and to submit other documents concerning the redevelopment project. If you would like an opportunity to speak at this public hearing or to submit a written statement or other documents, please sign in at the sign-in table if you have not done so already. Names will be called in an order in which they are signed in. Persons unable to attend this public hearing or persons in attendance at this public hearing may submit to the town prior to the end of this public hearing any written statements or other related documents regarding the proposed redevelopment project. Such written statements and or other documents will become part of the public hearing record. Comments received after the close of this public hearing will not be considered. This hearing is not an answering question session, or a question and answer session, I should say. It is instead an opportunity for you to present your views to the town so that they may be considered by the town when it makes its determination findings as required by the EDPL. A record of this hearing is being made, including written statements submitted. When available, copies of the record will be available to the public for examination without cost during normal business hours at the town's office and the Ontario County Clerk's office, and copies of the record will be reproduced upon written request to the town and payment of the cost thereof. Written request for the record should be addressed to the town of Victor, care of Town Supervisor, 85 East Main Street, Victor, New York, 14564. Copies of the map outlining the proposed location of the redevelopment project and description of the property subject to condemnation are available at the sign-in table. I will now allow the town supervisor to continue with the public hearing.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jack Marin. I am the town supervisor of the town of Victor. The town has received a new request from Wilmerite for the town's assistance with respect to the acquisition of the parcel in connection with the redevelopment project. The terms parcel and redevelopment project will be defined later in this hearing. In this hearing, there will be references to Wilmerite. We will use that term to collectively refer to three affiliated entities: Eastview Mall, LLC, as a landowner of Eastview Mall, located at 7979 Pittsford Victor Road in the town of Victor, referred to in this hearing as Eastview Mall. Wilmerite Construction, LLC, a Wilmerite affiliate that would be involved in the construction of the redevelopment project. LTEVM, LLC, a Wilmerite affiliate that would receive title to the parcel if the redevelopment project goes forward. On March 13th, 2023, the town, upon consideration of Wilmerite's request, authorized the commencement of condemnation proceedings under the EDPL and the holding of a public hearing in order to consider acquisition of the parcel in connection with the redevelopment project. The parcel consists of approximately 8.40 acres of real property located at Eastview Mall, consisting of the former and now vacant Lord & Taylor's department store building, which is approximately 93,000 square feet. The parcel also includes the existing Lord & Taylor's improvements and the adjoining and nearby parking fields and related improvements, in all rights benefiting the parcel, including but not limited to rights and obligations under the Third Amendment and restated construction, operation, and reciprocal easement agreement dated as of January 25th, 1996, and recorded in the Ontario County Clerk's office on July 3rd, 1996, in Leber 968 of deeds at page 742, as amended by a certain first modification of Third Amended and restated construction, operation, and reciprocal easement agreement dated as of June 1st, 2009, and recorded in the Ontario County Clerk's office on July 24th, 2009, in Leber 1230 of deeds at page 72, as so amended the REA. The parcel is located at 700 Eastview Mall Drive and is further identifiable by tax ID number 6.00-1-12.600. There are no proposed alternate locations in connection with the redevelopment project. In the beginning, it was the town of Victor that encouraged Wilmerite to set up shop and build Eastview Mall here in Victor after they had been turned down by a neighboring town. That invitation by the town has been instrumental in the economic prosperity of the town. Thereafter, the town encouraged and assisted Wilmerite in the early 1990s with its redevelopment plan to expand Eastview Mall, and which expansion included and helped bring about the now vacant Lord & Taylor department store. A copy of the town's 1993 public hearing minutes regarding such redevelopment plan is submitted and entered into the record of this public hearing as Exhibit B. Eastview Mall has become the retail hub of the town. Eastview Mall has been and continues to be a regionally significant asset to the town, its residents, and the surrounding community. It attracts visitors and shoppers who reside within the town. It is also a significant draw for numerous visitors and shoppers from outside the town, drawing in patrons from all throughout central New York, Finger Lakes region, southern tier, western New York, and elsewhere. When these visitors spend money at Eastview Mall, It contributes to sales tax revenues for the town and also employment for town residents. All of this contributes to the general prosperity of the town. It is no surprise then that Eastview Mall is a regionally important shopping destination. Its importance to the town's economic planning is reflected in the Town and Village of Victor, New York's comprehensive plan dated August 24th, 2015, which is available on the town's website and is incorporated into the public hearing record by reference and is referred to in this public hearing as the comprehensive plan. As noted in the comprehensive plan, the Eastview Mall is a major economic driver in the community and provides the town and Ontario County valuable jobs as well as property tax and sales tax revenues. According to Wilmerite, businesses collectively at Eastview Mall have approximately 2,900 employees, which is by far the largest place for employment in the town. It is without a doubt that Eastview Mall provides a major source of sales tax revenues and employment in the town. In a world where brick and mortar retail stores and malls across America are facing challenges, the town is fortunate to have Eastview Mall as a vibrant and attractive destination. But we cannot take the vibrancy of the Eastview Mall for granted. It faces competition for shoppers' dollars from Goliath online retailers, as well as from other regionally significant retail centers in central and western New York. The town's economic and public interests are aligned with that of Wilmerite to continue to make Eastview Mall a strong and vibrant attraction by continually evolving and looking to establish new and unique offerings for shoppers and visitors. Preserving this vibrant economic engine is of vital importance to the town and in the public interest to do so. The redevelopment project involves the site of the former Lord & Taylor's department store, which was built in 1995 as part of an expansion of Eastview Mall. The town of Victor actually had a long-standing interest in this parcel. Before 1994, the site was a gravel pit. By August 1994, the town had acquired title to the land. The town then issued tax increment financing that helped to finance the acquisition of the land and some of the development costs that led to the Lord & Taylor's store's construction. The deed was finally transferred from the town to Lord & Taylor in 2014, after the tax increment financing was paid off. The town's 2014 resolution authorizing such transfer is submitted and entered into the record of this public hearing as Exhibit C. The Lord & Taylor department store opened at Eastview Mall in October of 1995. For 25 years, the Lord & Taylor department store served as the primary anchor tenant to a wing of the Eastview Mall. As an anchor tenant, Lord & Taylor drew in customers and generated foot traffic that helped fuel the success of businesses throughout the interior of the Eastview Mall. During that time, the Lord & Taylor store contributed significant public benefits to the town by providing numerous jobs, sales tax revenue, and property tax revenue. According to Wilmerite, in 2018 and 2019, the last 2 full years of its operation, the Lord & Taylor store at Eastview Mall was generating about $15 million per year in annual sales. Those sales in turn generated a significant amount of sales tax revenue for Ontario County and for the town of Victor. In August of 2020, the Lord & Taylor Company announced that it was filing for bankruptcy and closing its store. About 6 months later, on February 27th, 2021, the Lord & Taylor store at Eastview Mall closed its doors. The parcel is now owned by HBC Victor LLC, which we will refer to in this hearing as HBC. HBC is an affiliate of the Hudson's Bay Company, the former corporate parent of Lord & Taylor. We understand that Hudson Bay Company and its affiliates also own numerous other vacant properties throughout the country that were former Lord & Taylor department store locations. The Lord & Taylor store has now been closed for more than 2 years. Nothing has taken its place. It remains vacant and unused. This vacancy has already had a negative impact on the town. The store used to directly employ dozens of people. Now it employs none. The store used to generate significant sales tax revenue. Now it generates none. Since February 2021, the town has realized zero economic benefits from the parcel due to this prolonged vacancy and the resulting lack of commercial activity. This vacancy has negatively impacted other tenants at the Eastview Mall. Not surprisingly, the loss of an anchor tenant has led other businesses to move out of that wing of Eastview Mall, leading to further loss of employment and further loss of sales tax revenue. The town continues to feel not only the direct effects of the vacancy, but these indirect effects, which continue to compound. There is no reason why the vacant parcel should not be promptly put back into productive use. It sits in a desirable location, attached to a regionally significant mall. The parcel appears to have been adequately maintained, and it is in marketable conditions. The town is aware that multiple prospective tenants have inquired with HBC and Wilmerite about the parcel. Unfortunately, it appears that HBC has been unmotivated or unsuccessful, or some combination of both. Whatever the reason, HBC has not found a new tenant for the parcel. It continues to sit vacant and unused, negatively impacting the town, its residents, and the surrounding community. HBC is aware of the town's concerns about the vacancy of the parcel. Indeed, the town previously attempted to acquire the parcel through eminent domain for redevelopment purposes. Given that history, one might think that HBC would proactively reach out to the town to discuss redevelopment plans, particularly given that the parcel has now been vacant for more than 2 years. Yet, remarkably, HBC has made no attempts to directly communicate with the town about the future of the parcel. Of course, HBC is not required to communicate with the town about its plans, but their lack of communication with the town is concerning, as it demonstrates HBC is not interested in, or certainly not prioritizing, the reoccupancy or redevelopment of the parcel among the possible many other empty department stores they may be also addressing across the nation. Fortunately for the town, its residents, and the surrounding community, Wilmerite continues to express a strong interest in redeveloping the parcel and putting it back into productive reuse. Given how important and integrated Eastview Mall is to the economic vibrancy of the town and surrounding community, the town can no longer allow the vacancy of the parcel to continue and spread to otherwise active areas of Eastview Mall. The town is confident that the redevelopment project proposed by Wilmerite will serve the public interest. Wilmerite has a successful history of re-tenanting vacant retail stores and putting them back into use, both here at Eastview Mall and at other sites. For example, after Sears closed its anchor store at Eastview Mall, Wilmerite worked with the site owner to redevelop and repurpose the site. Today, that site houses the flagship location of Dick's Sporting Goods House of Sport, the first of its kind in the country. That redevelopment project has been hugely successful. It has generated significant economic benefits to the town in terms of jobs and increased sales and property tax revenues. That is not to mention the indirect follow-on effects that it has had on surrounding businesses in the mall, which have been hugely benefited from the increased foot traffic. Another example is the 2018 expansion of the Apple store at Eastview Mall. Wilmerite worked with Apple to expand into the former Rite Aid store location. That expansion has been successful in driving traffic to the mall and generating positive economic benefits for the town. Wilmerite also worked with the County of Monroe Industrial Development Agency to redevelop and repurpose vacant anchors at the Marketplace Mall in Henrietta to bring an orthopedics campus of the University of Rochester Medical Center. The status quo is not acceptable. There is a clear underutilization at the parcel as compared to other parts of Eastview Mall, which are seeing very promising activity. The town is experiencing a high opportunity cost in terms of foregone economic benefits from jobs and sales tax revenues that could be generated at the parcel. Given Wilmerite's successful track record, and given HBC's apparent inability or unwillingness to undertake the redevelopment of its own, the town believes that the redevelopment project will serve the public interest. The redevelopment project involves acquisition of the parcel and the reuse and redevelopment by Wilmerite of the parcel by dividing the interior of the former Lord & Taylor building into 3 parts and re-tenanting each of these spaces. The first part of the parcel, consisting of about 50,000 square feet of space, would be leased to a leading and growing international, new-to-market, and regionally significant retailer known for affordable, sustainable, environmentally conscious, and trend-setting clothing beauty products, homeware, and accessories. Our understanding is that Wilmrite brought this same retailer to HBC as a prospective tenant, but that HBC was unwilling or unable to reach an agreement. We now understand that Wilmrite is at an advanced stage of lease negotiations with this potential retail tenant. Bringing this retailer to the town would help cement Eastview Mall's status as a regional destination. It would bring jobs and sales tax revenue back to the town. Losing this retailer would only continue to compound the current negative effects to the town from the parcel's vacancy. The second part of the parcel, consisting of about 32,000 square feet, would be leased to a family-owned grocer focused on healthy, environmentally conscious, and nutritious food choices. We understand that Wilmrite has signed a confidential letter of intent with this potential tenant. We believe that bringing a grocer to the parcel will generate economic benefits for the town and will help to ensure the vibrancy of the mall, especially given that such an offering in a mall is not available in our region. The third part of the parcel, consisting of about 11,000 square feet, would be offered to the town as leasee. The town is excited about the prospect of having a public municipal space at Eastview Mall. Of course, it will be up to the town board to determine how the space will eventually be used, but we have some exciting ideas to consider. These options include using the space as a business incubator office, community and recreation center space, and space for other town-related uses. We believe that any of these uses would help enhance the town's public services and also drive foot traffic to Eastview Mall, which in turn will generate additional economic benefits for the town. And unlike other vacancies at Eastview Mall, the proposed town space at this parcel will provide for direct access to parking and outdoor entrances, which only will enhance the provisions of government services. The redevelopment project will further the general welfare of the town. And consider the alternative. If the space remains vacant, the town will continue to lose out on jobs and tax revenue. These exciting, new-to-market retailers will locate elsewhere in the greater Rochester or Finger Lakes region. Reusing existing space helps preserve the town's undeveloped gray space and green space and minimizes the environmental impact. Now is the time to move forward on this redevelopment project before these tenants seek other locations. We no longer have the luxury of time to sit around and wait for HBC to act. A prolonged vacancy has the potential for disastrous effects on the entire health of an entire wing of the Eastview Mall, if not the entire mall. The town would be in danger of losing a vital economic driver and critical source of jobs and tax revenue. The town has an obligation to advance the general prosperity of its residents and to foster economic development, and the implementation of the redevelopment project will help in such efforts. A map of the location and description of the parcel is available for viewing in this room, and copies are available for you to take at the sign-in table. The map and description of the parcel is hereby submitted and entered into the record of this public hearing as Exhibit D. The town will conduct an environmental review pursuant to, in accordance with Article 8 of the New York Environmental Conservation Law and associated regulations promulgated thereunder, known hereafter as SEEKR, with respect to the redevelopment project. It is contemplated that within 90 days of the conclusion of this public hearing, the town will make and publish its determination and findings in accordance with the EDPL regarding the proposed acquisition of the parcel in connection with the redevelopment project. This concludes my statements on behalf of the town, and I want to thank everyone for your attendance.
Thank you, Supervisor Marin. At this time, I'd like to provide an opportunity to anyone who would like to present an oral written statement and/or submit other documents concerning the redevelopment project. Public is advised that a reasonable amount of time will be allowed for comments to be made relevant to the redevelopment project. I will start by calling the first name of the first person on the sign-in sheet requesting to speak or submit written comments. When you do come up to speak, please state your name and address clearly for the stenographer, and if you are here representing an organization, please identify that organization. First person on the list is John Dower.
Good evening. My name is John Dower, and I'm the Senior Vice President and Director of Leasing for Wilmerite, located here in Rochester, New York. Thank you, Supervisor Marin, and the entire board for this opportunity to speak. A little background on me. As you can see from the slide, my entire career has been in the commercial real estate industry. Currently, as the Senior Vice President and Director of Leasing at Wilmerite, I lead the leasing efforts to improve not only Eastview Mall, but also the rest of the company's regional mall properties. This evening, I would like to give you a little background on Wilmerite and Eastview Mall, discuss Wilmerite's efforts to bring new tenants into the vacant Lord & Taylor space, which has included providing numerous viable tenant leads to Hudson Bay, the current owner of the parcel. Discuss what happens to a mall when an anchor, like the former Lord & Taylor space, remains vacant, and what will happen to Eastview should Lord & Taylor continue to remain vacant. Discuss the proposed redevelopment plan for the former anchor and the positive impact it will have on the town of Victor, its residents, and the surrounding area. Wilmerite has over 70 years' experience in the commercial real estate business and is well respected within the industry. The company has been locally owned and operated by 4 generations of the Wilmot family, all of whom are actively involved in the community and invested in the mall's future. I want to point out that in the early 1990s, the town assisted Lord & Taylor and Eastview Mall in bringing about Lord & Taylor anchor space as the town utilized tax increment financing to fund the acquisition of a gravel quarry, which was then leased to an Eastview entity, upon which the Lord & Taylor facility was constructed. That financing has since been repaid, and in 2014, title to the Lord & Taylor space went from the town to Lord & Taylor. We have faced similar anchor store vacancies at our Marketplace Mall located in the town of Henrietta. We requested assistance from County of Monroe Industrial Development Agency to help us with the redevelopment and reuse of such vacancies. With this assistance, we were able to deliver a regionally significant and transformative user to Marketplace Mall, as the University of Rochester Medical Center is currently developing approximately $240 million and 330,000 square foot orthopedic and physical performance center at the Marketplace Mall. We were also able to successfully purchase the former Macy's parcel at the Marketplace Mall and converting that into the first to upstate New York Floor & Decor. Eastview Mall as a whole employs approximately 2,900 people, contributes over $20 million in sales tax revenue annually, produces over $410 million in annual sales, and has over 10 million visits per year. Lord & Taylor, which was the primary anchor to the 1995 expansion wing of Eastview Mall, closed on February 27, 2021, and has remained vacant ever since. Since the closure of Lord & Taylor, we have had discussions with Hudson Bay about trying to redevelop or reuse the property. During these discussions, we learned that the Eastview parcel was very low on their priority list of assets. The fact that the former Lord & Taylor parcels in Syracuse and Buffalo remain vacant today demonstrates that Hudson Bay's priority lie elsewhere. In fact, I was told by a Hudson Bay representative this was because the upstate New York assets have far less value than other Hudson Bay properties, such as those in major markets including New York City and Beverly Hills, and that Victor, New York was on or near the bottom of their list. After my discussions with Hudson Bay, and learning how far down the priority list Victor was, Wilmerite provided several leads to Hudson Bay of tenants interested in the former Lord & Taylor box. Despite delivering these interested tenants to Hudson Bay, none of the tenants were able to successfully come to terms for a deal, as Hudson Bay is not willing to invest its own money and yet is asking an exorbitant amount, as if the space had been redeveloped and already occupied. The leads included a 40,000 square foot fitness concept given to them in 2020, a first-to-market 50,000 square foot entertainment concept given to them in 2020, a first-to-market 42,000 square foot entertainment concept given in 2021, a first-to-market 93,000 square foot entertainment concept given in 2021, a first-to-market 93,000 square foot retail concept given to him just this year, and finally, a 50,000 square foot high-impact international department store concept given in 2020 and again in 2023. And this last time in 2023, we provided them with all of the relevant information to make the deal themselves, including length of term, economics of income, and costs associated with the deal, with tenant improvement allowance, as well as estimated construction costs. This high-impact international department store is currently under a confidential lease negotiation with Wilmrite and is one of 3 proposed tenants that would reoccupy the premises as part of the redevelopment plan, as I will discuss later. A vacant primary anchor to a wing of a mall will have lasting effects on the particular wing and the entire mall. This slide shows what the wing anchored by Lord & Taylor looked like in 2018 when Lord & Taylor was still operating. The wing was vibrant with only 2 vacancies. This wing generated over $43 million in sales. On February 27, 2021, Lord & Taylor closed their doors. Anchors are traditionally responsible for the majority of the mall's sales and foot traffic. You can see that by the end of 2021, there were 16 vacancies in the wing. This next slide is a good visual of the impact of a vacant anchor. This is an aerial photo taken on Black Friday, 2022, which traditionally is the busiest shopping day of the year. You can clearly see the only 2 parking fields that are empty are those flanking the former Lord & Taylor. We received complaints from customers that wanted to park in those fields but were unable to, as there wasn't any access to the mall through 3 Lord & Taylor entrances. Looking at the years 23 and 24, there is a potential of 25 vacancies in the wing. These are tenants with leases that expire. Several of these tenants have already requested to relocate to another area of the mall with higher foot traffic or leave Eastview entirely. These are the spaces you will see identified with red checkered board patterns. The quote from a current tenant is just a sample of what we've been hearing. Seems like more stores have left since I was there in November. I'm also hearing that the major tenant we are hoping for is no longer coming to the Lord & Taylor space. Would appreciate any updates you may have. We are really struggling. While the comment about the major tenant is inaccurate, as we have a final lease in a form ready to be executed by both parties, the rest of it holds true. The next slide looks at the years 2025 and 2026. If the primary anchor of this wing were to remain vacant, there is potential for a total of 41 vacancies in this wing. 16 tenants identified with the red hash marks are expiring in those years and will most likely either relocate to another section of the mall or leave Eastview entirely. This will leave the wing decimated. I want to emphasize that without a swift and high-powered redevelopment of the former Lord & Taylor box, the chances of this adjacent wing becoming 80% vacant is a real possibility. Such a negative effect would not be good for the town and its residents, and this would result in the loss of over $46 million plus in annual sales and approximately $3 million plus in sales tax revenue. Just as important, those vacancies will trigger co-tenancy clauses in other leases throughout the center, allowing additional tenants to close their doors, which in turn will cause the entire mall's occupancy to drop to a level that is unrecoverable, which again would not be good for the town and its residents. We have seen this happen in other New York upstate markets, including Buffalo, Syracuse, and Albany. This brings us to the redevelopment plan. The layout encompasses the 50,000 square foot high-impact international department store, which stated before we are at lease and in a form ready to be executed by both parties. A 32,000 square foot grocer, which we are under a confidential letter of intent in negotiations, and just this morning I was able to confirm a site visit for the first week of May. And approximately 11,000 square foot for a proposed town use. This particular high-impact international department store has opened locations in other malls in the northeastern United States and is rapidly expanding through the Northeast. This store is a well-established brick-and-mortar business without any online presence. Highly sought-after retail destination, affordable and sustainable products are at the core of their business, is a low price point, high merchandise turnover store which leads to tremendous amounts of foot traffic throughout the mall, and will employ approximately 150 people. As you can see from the statements from some of those other Northeast Regional Mall properties, the high impact international department store concept has had a big impact on malls and the surrounding communities. For example, the marketing director of a mall in Connecticut comments, "This particular tenant has been an effective tool for leasing. Leasing has indicated that the addition of this international department store retailer has helped secure new high-profile national tenants ranging from small shop to big box to the center." Likewise, the manager of a mall in New Jersey states, "This tenant opened in 2016 and replaced a portion of the vacant Sears store. Their sales are over $25 million more than Sears had done in the entire store. The mall entrance near this store has become the busiest for the mall. This store has a high turnover of merchandise, so frequency to the store and the mall has increased. When Nordstrom's was open, there was a tremendous amount of cross-shopping. Since this store does not sell merchandise online, shoppers are forced to visit the mall. The relevancy of the Nordstrom comment illustrates that while the high-impact international department store retailer has low price point merchandise, the quality of the merchandise allows for significant cross-shopping of high-end stores such as Von Maur, Pottery Barn, Anthropologie, and others at Eastview. Without quick action to secure a location for this retailer, the town of Victor will lose them altogether. The 32,000 square foot grocer is a unique family-owned regional grocery store dedicated to bringing clean food to communities. They partner with local farmers and produce providers while looking to give back to the customers that support them. Employing approximately 100 people and supplying fresh local grocery options to town residents will be a huge asset to the community. Lord & Taylor generated approximately $15 million annually in sales within 93,000 square feet. We project that the international department store and grocer combined will generate upwards of $60 million in sales annually in less square footage. That's 4 times the volume of the previous Lord & Taylor store. These two tenants will generate approximately $2.4 million in annual sales tax revenue. It will employ over 250 people. Not to mention the number of jobs created as a result of the construction for this redevelopment, along with the number of jobs that will be added and maintained by having a vibrant wing full of thriving tenants. Wilmerite is planning on investing approximately $10 million to the leasing and redevelopment of this parcel. While the store has remained vacant, its current owners have failed to try to negotiate a commercially reasonable sale of the building and have been unable to take advantage of the tenant leads provided by Wilmerite and have not shown any indication there are any prospects for a redevelopment plan or an occupant for the vacant store. Securing the Lord & Taylor wing is critical to the long-term viability of Eastview Mall. Filling the empty anchor space with a high-profile, high-volume tenant is the most important step in achieving this goal and solidifying Eastview's future as a continued asset and benefit to the town of Victor and Ontario County. Once again, thank you for the time this evening.
Thank you. The next speaker listed is Craig Leslie.
Good evening. My name is Craig Leslie from Phillips Lytle, here on behalf of HBC Victor, the owner of the property that Wilmerite has just indicated to you they have been negotiating with tenants for, even though my client owns the property. This is not the first time I've been before you with respect to an attempted taking of my client's property. It's not the first time that this town board has respectfully ignored my client's ongoing efforts to re-tenant and redevelop this property, which you'll hear more about again tonight, and which is in the record already. Supervisor Marin, I didn't hear you reference it, and I didn't hear Mr. Pavia reference the comments that were provided to you and served on you earlier today, but I brought a copy with me. Before I yield the floor, I'll submit it to the stenographer. That submission includes the affidavits and declarations that were submitted the last time we were here, as well as new declarations that confirm the ongoing efforts to re-tenant and redevelop this property, which became vacant during the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Lord & Taylor store, as Mr. Pavia said, I believe, or maybe it was Supervisor Marin, closed in February of 2021. Less than 12 months later, this board initiated an effort to condemn the property and take that property from my client to transfer it to another private developer that the town apparently favors. Rinse, repeat, here we are again. The first time, the town did not identify the public use that it intended for my client's property. As a result, the Appellate Division, 4th Department, vacated this board's determination and findings and directed that my client would be awarded attorney's costs and fees. There was a pending fee application for $119,000 in costs and fees incurred in that unsuccessful attempt to take my client's property. Now, that may not mean much to this board, given that there have been public statements that Wilmerite will be indemnifying you for those amounts, but it should be in the record. The town will also note that the Appellate Division specifically instructed this town board that a vacancy is not equated with blight. They are not the same thing. There is vacancy at this property, there is not blight. And of course, the record reflected and will reflect again that my client has continued to maintain and monitor the property since it became vacant, has continued to pay the property taxes, and with due respect, Supervisor Marin, the zero economic benefits comment is simply false. My client has continued to pay real property taxes to this town, which Wilmerite cites as one of the benefits that this town will receive. It's already receiving real property taxes from this property. So that zero economic benefit is not true. And my client has made and continues to make significant efforts to re-tenant and redevelop the property, and demonstrated before and will do so again, and has done so in the submission made today, that it's both well qualified and well capable of doing so, as evidenced by its redevelopment of similar Lord & Taylor stores both in New York and elsewhere, including the delivery of tenants very similar or identical to those that Wilmerite now promises you it will deliver, even though it doesn't own the property and has no right to promise anything to anyone. The Appellate Division's decision has not deterred the town, so here we are again. Since the last time, the rhetorical question is what has changed. Certainly not my client's commitment to maintaining the property or its commitment to redeveloping and re-tenanting the property, both of which are addressed in the submissions and will be discussed by Mr. Rogers in a few minutes. So what has changed? Well, the town now claims that the public part of the project is Wilmerite leasing to you approximately 11,000 square feet for use as, in the notice, a business incubator office, community and recreation center space, or other unspecified town-related uses. And again, that was confirmed on the record this evening, that the town is reserving the right to do whatever the heck it wants with that property once it obtains the lease. That also confirms, however, what the town said last time implicitly, that it intends to take the property from my client, a private developer and landowner in your county, and transfer it to another private developer. That's what you're doing, taking private property from one owner to another that you favor. There's no way to put a gloss on that. It's on the record tonight. This ignores that the town has not approached my client about using any portion of the property. Supervisor Marin, you put the onus on my client. However, the town has done nothing. It's a two-way street. The town has not approached my client, has not requested to lease any portion of my client's property, and now uses a lease of 11,000 square feet of a 93,000 square foot space to supposedly justify this taking. Notably, the notice talks about this project, among other things, increasing foot traffic to the mall. I find it interesting that the map that you've been shown shows that the town's lease will not have access to the mall, not direct access. There's no doorway through to the main part of the mall, nor is there any access from the grocer, so I'm not quite sure how that fits in with the town's notice. All of this begs the question, and again, a rhetorical question, because it's not a question and answer session, is what has the town promised this board with respect to this property? What is the quid pro quo? And regardless of the answer to that question, it is obvious that Wilmerite is not doing this from the goodness of its heart. Otherwise, it would offer whatever terms it has offered you to lease existing space that exists right now and could be made available to you without taking my client's property. Wilmerite not doing so is itself proof that this proposed taking is not about a dominant public benefit, it's about a dominant private benefit to Wilmerite. That's the reason Wilmerite's willing to take on $120,000 in an attorney's costs and fee award, potentially, and take it on again by bringing this to you and asking you to do again what the appellate division has told you was ill-advised the first time. Wilmerite expects to profit from this deal, so much so that it's willing to do that. So much so that it apparently has continued to negotiate with individuals it has no right to promise anything to, while my client still owns the property. What else has changed? Wilmerite claims that it is currently under confidential lease negotiations for the new-to-market and regionally significant retailer. They admit to you that that is a tenant that they directed in our direction, but then apparently continued to negotiate with, which I find interesting. It also claims it's currently under a confidential letter of intent with a family-owned grocer for 32,000 square feet of space, again owned by my client. I find that interesting. Wilmerite has no right to negotiate with anyone, and frankly, its attempts to do so constitute interference with my client's property rights. And frankly, constitutes interference with the attempts my client has been making to redevelop or retenant this property. We spent a year in litigation the last time you tried this. We're going to spend another year. So how is that consistent with encouraging the retenanting or redeveloping of this property? How is casting a cloud over my client's efforts to retenant and redevelop this property consistent with doing so expeditiously? How is Wilmerite negotiating with parties it has no right to negotiate anything with or promise anything to, consistent with expediting the redevelopment or retenanting of this property? I submit to you it is not. Yet the town appears determined to go down this path again for the dominant benefit to Wilmerite and merely an incidental benefit to this town. The town's latest attempt is frankly no more legally or constitutionally permissible than the first time around. Describing a vague public use that you may or may not decide to undertake does not satisfy the requirements of the EDPL. It does not satisfy the requirements that the appellate division reminded you of when it struck down your determinations and findings the last time. And of course, even if the appellate division finds that vague and illusory commitment to a public portion of this project as sufficient from an EDPL standpoint, there is no question on this record and the presentation you just heard that the condemnation will result in a merely incidental public benefit and a dominant private purpose to benefit Wilmerite. I'll note, by the way, it's interesting the projections that were submitted to you, and it's interesting that those slides all contained the disclaimer that these were estimates and could change. Wilmerite is selling you a bill of goods. As I stated the last time around, there must be a dominant public purpose to the taking, not merely an incidental public purpose. On the face of the town's own notice, you're proposing to condemn my client's property, consisting of a 93,000 square foot space or building, to obtain a lease from Wilmerite to only 11,000 square feet, approximately 10,000 for the town, on terms that haven't been disclosed, by the way. In return, Wilmerite gets control of this building that it hasn't been able to buy, and frankly, to put the lie to the claim that my client hasn't been willing to sell that building, there are emails attached to the most recent declaration of Mr. Schneider that reflect that there was an offer made to sell this property to Wilmerite, and they didn't like it because it would be a break-even price. They couldn't make enough money on it. That's the reality. Not that my client wasn't willing to sell at a fair price, but that they didn't want to take it, and they're asking you to do their dirty work. So Wilmerite gets control of that building that it hasn't been able to buy, even though it admitted it could break even at my client's asking price, and according to the town's own notice, gets to lease approximately 90% of that building to two tenants at market rates that it's been negotiating with when it hasn't had the right to do so. And that assumes, of course, that Wilmerite can successfully land either of those prospective tenants, neither of which has a binding agreement with them. How can they? Wilmerite doesn't own the property. They can't lease it to anyone right now. So Wilmerite gets a property it wants, gets to lease approximately 10% of that to the town for undisclosed terms, and gets to lease the other 90% of the property for a profit. That alone demonstrates the dominant purpose here is to benefit Wilmerite. And to the extent this town is hearing about the urgency and how supposedly Wilmerite can do this more quickly than my client, first of all, if you go along with this taking, if the appellate division by some miracle upholds it, they will have the benefit of proceeding with efforts to re-tenant and redevelop this property without the interference of someone who doesn't own the property. Second of all, they cited their history at Marketplace Mall and the Macy's store. Interesting side note to that. Wilmerite purchased that property in 2014. The Macy's operating the location closed in 2017. Now, this is before COVID, 2017, obviously. It was 3 years later, COVID came along. But under Wilmerite's ownership, that property remained vacant from 2017 to 2023. Floor & Decor will open later this year after a 6-year period of vacancy. What credibility, I ask you, do they have that they can do this faster than we can? I submit to you, on that record, none. The appellate division has already determined my client's property is not blighted, mere vacancy is not enough, and at the end of the day, this board is taking action or proposing to take action to benefit one developer over another private developer, and in the process is trampling over my client's constitutional rights as the owner of this property. It's unsupported and it's unsupportable. And what's going to happen is, again, there's going to be another challenge. It's going to go back to the appellate division, and they will have the record of what you did the first time alongside the record of what you're trying to do this time. Win, lose, or draw, you've got another year that this property is going to be under a cloud because of this town board not staying out of the way and letting my client do what they've successfully done elsewhere, as you'll hear from Mr. Rogers. For all of these reasons, we submit the town should abandon this second ill-guided attempt. Let my client get on with the business of re-tenanting and redeveloping this property, as is its right as the owner of this building, and avoid another trip to the appellate division. Before I yield the floor, I have several items that I'm going to submit to the stenographer. I'll name them real quick, and then I'll hand them over to you. The first is the letter that was delivered via hand delivery earlier today to Supervisor Marin, to the town clerk, and to Mr. Pavia's office, dated April 24th, 2023, with attachments, Exhibits A, B, C, and D. The second is a flash drive containing the video of the Town of Victor's Town Board meeting from March 13th, 2023. The third item is the Appellate Division 4th Department's decision in the matter of HBC Victor. The fourth item is a set of photos of the interior showing the property is being maintained. There were photographs in the prior declaration showing the exterior. It has not changed. And then, because I'm not sure, Mr. Pavia, whether you marked the redevelopment plan itself as an exhibit, I'm going to submit that as Exhibit 5 here because I want that in the record for various reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker listed is Cecilia Bonaccio. No. Next speaker listed is David Nantkin. Nope. Next speaker listed is Greg Rogers.
Good evening. My name's Greg Rogers, R-O-D-G-E-R-S, and I'm with Hudgens Bay Company, VP of Property Management. As stated earlier on the record, my declaration from 2021 holds true till today. We're still maintaining the building. One of the primary purposes of doing that is so we can bring prospective tenants into the building, and it's more marketable that way. From a development perspective, we at Hudson's Bay are in the throngs of from 2021, where the world kind of slowed to a screeching halt. Our 34 locations that we closed in 2021, we're now starting to re-tenant, reoccupy, redevelop. One location in Westfield, New Jersey, we're actually partnering with the town to do the downtown redevelopment along with the Lord & Taylor property. Our property at 1200 Franklin Avenue in Gardens City, Long Island. We redeveloped that property. We have Morgan Stanley on the second floor, Northwell Health on the main floor. Our property in Manhasset, we work with NYU Langone Hospital. They're taking the entire building and the parcel. for a long-term lease on that property. Northwell Health is also taking a property from us at the Huntington Walt Whitman Mall. So we're a redeveloper. We develop properties, we redevelop properties. This property here, we don't want a tenant. We want the right tenant. We want long-term tenant that's going to help revitalize the mall with a long-term lease in the space. So throughout the chain, the former locations, it's a process. It's finding the right person for the right fit at the right location. We don't want to throw anybody in and have them leave in a year. That's not what we want to do. So our goal is to make sure that when we redevelop this parcel, it's great for the community, it's great for the town, it's great for the mall, and it works for us. So that's what we're working on. We don't want to rush it, we don't want to slow it, but we want to make sure that whatever we do is right for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I get this right. Carol Fisher? Nope, you just, okay. And there's another Mr. Fisher? Is that a Knobloch?
Valerie Knobloch.
Valerie Knobloch?
Hi, my name is Valerie Knobloch, and I'm Director of Tourism for Ontario County, and our office is located at 19 Susan B. Anthony Lane in Canandaigua. I've prepared some remarks that I'll give to you when I'm finished here. Again, my name is Valerie Knobloch, and I'm the President and CEO of Ontario County's official tourism promotion agency, Finger Lakes Visitors Connection. I'm here to speak in support of the town of Victor's acquisition by condemnation of the former Lord & Taylor space at Eastview Mall. Finger Lakes Visitors Connection's mission is to curate, distinguish, and develop Ontario County's destination brand to inspire travel that creates economic vitality for our stakeholders and our communities, as well as provide quality of life benefits for our residents. Eastview Mall has always been an important component of the tourism product in Ontario County. The care that the Wilmerite Company has given to their properties and their products has been notable in Ontario County's tourism development and growth over the years. The curation and development component of our mission mandates that we define what a great visitor experience looks like year-round, including an all-season approach to experiences, resulting in increased demand for overnight lodging, dining, and shopping. Our strategic plan specifically calls out the need to develop towns to be more engaging and walkable by offering more unique local shopping, unique local dining, and expanded accessibility. In one sense, Eastview, with its myriad of offerings, is the same as developing a town. Eastview has been a model of shopping not only in this region but throughout the state. In the last 2 years, I've hosted many VIP guests in our various communities in Ontario County. The Eastview area of Victor is often on my tour. Among my guests was the internationally well-traveled CEO of Destinations International. In stopping at Eastview Mall in 2021, he shared his positive impressions with the activity level at the mall. He noted the energy around the product, especially Dick's House of Sport. He cited the quality, the safety, and the mix of stores. He noted how many destinations he did not see in his travels and how proud we should be to have this vibrant retail asset in our community. Although he did not go to the Lord & Taylor wing with me, we discussed the value of solid retail to the community and the region. I agree, but it doesn't just happen organically. Success must be purposeful, strategic, and timely to keep Eastview productive for our visitors and our communities. Both as destination managers and residents, we want to make sure that the quality, energy, and activity level are not slowly drained by empty stores. Empty stores just create a speculation of a demise, especially in this environment. The town of Victor's request signals the recognition that Eastview's long-term success, and therefore this community's long-term sense of place, is predicated on the frequency of visits, the vitality of the full stores, the collection of high-profile retail, and the integration of local small shops. Eastview and Finger Lakes Visitors Connection have always been in sync for promotion. For example, FLVC, as we call ourselves, promotes outdoor recreational activities, and Dick's and LL Bean both help attract outdoor enthusiasts for their selections of equipment and apparel. There is a market symbiosis that results in wins for the retailers, the government with sales tax revenues and job creation, and the residents with unsurpassed retail options. Empty, vacant spaces produce none of that, and in fact are deleterious to their goals. Similarly, the mall's sit-down and fast food restaurants appeal to the out-of-town shoppers. Here, there is a combination of both locally owned and national operators. Eastview has always been a detractor to the Canadian shopper specifically, who is beginning to return to us. They do not want to see empty stores, and we don't want them to be disillusioned or choose another destination that has maximized the use of its space. All of our research points to the importance of experiences in order to maintain visitor interest. Our definition of a great experience is definitely not aided by empty, vacant storefronts. It is imperative that the town of Victor be able to take action to support the local businesses, grow the local economy, provide services to our residents and our visitors, and have a forward-looking vision for each and every space that helps identify its place as the retail center of Ontario County. I please support the action of the town board as you make this important decision. If you feel you would like any other data illustrating the importance of retail to our destination, please feel free to contact me. Respectfully submitted, Valerie Knobloch.
Thank you. Next on the list, Mark Years, I assume you don't want. What do you think that says?
That's Casey.
Casey Page, no. Casey Page?
No.
Sorry. Kathy Wright?
No.
No. Sheila Dake? No. B. Parker? Kathy Rayburn, I assume no. Steve Metzger, I assume no. Richard Dono, I assume no. Tom Wilmot Sr.?
Appreciate everybody being here this evening. Thank you. I'm Tom Wilmot Sr., Chairman of Wilmorite. I've been in that position since 1980. Wilmorite built Eastview Mall 52 years ago. We opened in 1971. I was part of the construction management team at that time, recently graduated from Syracuse. Over the last 5 decades, our successful ownership of Eastview, we have seen several significant expansions and redevelopment of the center that have enhanced the property and increased its impact positively for the Victor community and Western New York and the state of New York. Eastview, like all malls, continues to evolve. Over the decades, to meet the changing appetite of our shoppers, if you recall, which I can remember, but probably not too many people will, in 1971, the property was anchored by Sibley's, a local department store, and Sears Roebuck. 2 years later, we added McCurdy's and what was then called the McCurdy's Wing, which later became the Von Maur Wing, which much later became the Bonton Wing, and which much later became Von Maur. Sibley's is now Macy's, McCurdy's is Von Maur. Sears has been transformed into the hugely successful Dick's House of Sports. Each of the new anchors generates sales that far exceeded their predecessors, and in turn generate increased sales tax revenues for the town of Victor. The Lord & Taylor store is empty, 93,000-foot box, locked up from the public. It's been vacant for approximately 2 years, and there are no concrete plans for its development by the present owners. As my colleague John Dower pointed out, this has already had a negative effect on Lord and Taylor Wing. There's little desire for existing or prospective tenants to be in a wing that does not have an anchor. The fact that we cannot say with any certainty as to time and who will be in the Lord and Taylor store is a very negative in trying to lease space in that wing. In effect, on Eastview, the empty store will be to increase vacancies in the years to come. We have a plan with exciting new tenants will enhance the overall shopping experience at Eastview. We're willing to invest in our plan, and Eastview will have gone again and again over the last 50 years. We invested approximately $54 million for the Lord and Taylor Penny's expansion in 1995, and I would note there was a significant incentive paid to Lord and Taylor to come. The Eastview Commons cost approximately $50 million in 1998. The front entrance redevelopment in 2003 was $35 million. LL Bean in 2012 was $15 million. As many of you remember, we added the Regal Cinema, which was about a $15 million investment. So that's where we stand today. We're ready to bring in an international department store, a much sought-after tenant, which will secure the future of the Lord and Taylor wing. Without that, we see increased vacancies and lost sales tax and employment for both the town, the county, and the state. On some of the comments that were made about us seeking profit and interfering in Lord and Taylor Group's desire to redevelop the project, I personally had several discussions with members of the real estate staff. And we were told that, as John pointed out, that this was a very low priority. And you can understand that was, as they pointed out, the developments all in the general metropolitan New York area, Garden City, Manhasset, and Walt Whitman, those are very different markets than upstate New York. As we all know, upstate suffers population declines and stagnant income levels, while the metropolitan area, until recently at least, seemed to be doing exceptionally well. In those discussions, we offered a joint venture if Lord and Taylor wished that. We would put up the capital required for the redevelopment. They would contribute the building, and they would then have an option on completion of the development to sell their interest, or we would have an option to buy it at whatever the market, their best offer was. I was told that this was just too small a deal to get involved in the complexities of a partnership, and there are complexities in a partnership, I can't deny that, but that had no interest. We did not give Lord and Taylor the International Department Store lease, but it wasn't our lease. We negotiated that lease on the department store's form, so we don't own that lease or that agreement. So that we gave the outline of the business terms. We'd gotten far enough in those negotiations to have a pretty complete set of plans done, so we had construction numbers that were, I would say, plus or minus 5%. They were very detailed. And again, we were told by the department store that they couldn't make a deal with Lord and Taylor. I don't know the details of that, but I assume they were willing to pay Lord and Taylor what they were willing to pay us. So in conclusion, I think Lord and Taylor has many opportunities for development, but they're focused on major markets. And the fact that 3 upstate Lord and Taylor sit there with, to the best of our knowledge, no activity, I don't think is a good sign. We could be here 5 years from now, and Lord and Taylor and the parent could be possibly doing a casino in metropolitan New York or something in San Francisco, but I don't think upstate's going to really get their attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom Wilmot Jr.? Nope. Rick Copeland? That's the last name on the list. If there's anyone else that wishes to speak, you can raise your hand and approach the microphone. If not, it is 8:11, and I hereby call the public hearing to closure. Thank you, everybody.
Want a copy?
No, I can eat.
It's photo time.
Okay, let me get these things.
I just have that down because that's how we usually do it, but.
He was say that public hearing.
Still requesting a copy.
Going back to the evening's agenda, next order of action, approval of minutes, the April 10th regular town board meeting minutes.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And when our clerk is ready, we'll ask her to read manifest number 8, abstract of claims.
The Victortown Board has reviewed manifest number 8 in the amount of $365,101.91 with the following accounts charged: general townwide, general outside village, highway townwide, consolidated sewer fund.
Thank you. And again, you'll see up on the screen, payment number 1 was to Bluestone Creek Development, the May rent for Parks and Rec. Payment 2, Cardiac Life for 3 new AEDs. Payment to Dasco Pipeline, this is for pump station number 7. Payment to Integrated System for highway cameras and Wi-Fi upgrades. Payment to Guardian Insurance. And payment to MVP Health for May Healthcare. Payment to New York State Comptrollers for March court fees that were collected. Total of the above-mentioned expenditures is $305,090.01. Total town expenditures minus the previous mentioned expenditures equals $59,920.90. Town board members, any questions on this evening's abstract? There are none. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we have no privilege of the floor scheduled this evening. Public comments. First, I'll go to Ms. Mandrino. Do you have a public comment on YouTube? This time, I'll ask any members of the public that care to offer any comments to the town board.
I feel I'm going to be kind of anticlimactic after the public hearing. But in any case, Carol Fisher, 632 County Road 42, Wangum Road. Pickleball. About a year ago, a compromise was reached. Before that time, on the one side, there were the residents of the hamlet who experienced a game that was not suitable to the location, too close to homes, too noisy, endless, constant, and was monopolizing access to the park. And on the other side, there were pickleball players who loved the game and wanted to play 13 hours a day, every day, and they did. The compromise did not change the sentiments on either side, but it did result in a schedule. We now know when it's best to garden and when we can open our windows and we can cook outside and have campfires and invite people over to go into the woods. So the schedule helps. So then why am I here? Because interest in this game continues to grow. To attest to that, every week enthusiasts jump the fence. Last year, when you were in the throes of this problem, Keith Shields, head of the Farmington Victor Pickleball Club, told us there were 347 people in that group. He currently told me that there are 696. Pickleball is being taught at Victor Rec, and those players want to play. People are returning from Florida. They want to play. Every day, Parks and Rec receives calls. Why aren't the courts open? So there's pressure, pressure, pressure. The solution, as tempting as it might be, should not be to alter the agreement and add more playtime in Fishers. Because through 5 months of town board meetings last year, our neighbors, in so many ways, explained that this game should never be near homes, and thus any pressure for more court time in Victor should not be honored. In Fishers. The solution should be more courts, because there are a lot of people who want to play, and they should be able to play, and they love this game, just not near homes. And it is possible. There is a January 23 sketch plan of proposed pickleball courts in the undeveloped land that is going to be Paparone Park. And this is an ideal location. It's not near homes, and it's on the east side of Victor, where most of the growth is now occurring. So there is a plan, and yet the town has not allocated money toward developing these courts, not in this year's budget or next year's. Speechless. So all I can say is there's pressure out there, and it's only going to increase, but it cannot be directed back to Fishers. So please plan. Thank you. Oh, and just, this will only take 30 seconds. This is the schedule that we're under right now, and it's quite balanced. There's 21 blocks of time, 7, 7, and 7, kind of morning, afternoon, and evening. And then 10 of the blocks are filled with pickleball, the other half piece. And so it's a 50-50 compromise. So to add any playing time to that, because there is pressure, that would throw this out of balance. And there would go the compromise. So thank you very much.
Are there any other members of the public care to speak? In your packet, you had the reports of our town engineer, report of our highway superintendent, and the report from IT as well. I have a number of items I just want to, if any town board member has the time this coming Saturday, April 29th, there's a Arbor Day celebration. It'll kick off at 10:30 a.m. on Rawson Road. The generosity of Kitty Van Bortle has repeated itself this year. She's purchased a number of trees for this event. And so if anyone can make it, 10:30 at Rawson Road, much appreciated. In addition, this coming Saturday, it's that time of year. Of course, the weather's have a lot to say whether or not it takes place, but the Victor Little League home opener is this weekend, and there's a parade with the softball youth and baseball players, and that'll start about 8:15. Opening day ceremony will follow, commencing from approximately 8:30 to 9 a.m., and this is over by the Cloverleaf, Field 22. In your previously, I'd sent out the Victor Farmington Ambulance for the March report. I want you to know that Brian Emelson and I had a Zoom meeting with the Director of Planning for Director of Planning for Ontario County, and one of his planners as well, and this had to do with really talking about what Brian was able to do with many organizations here at Dreier Road Park, and to bring that concept to areas of the county that certainly has the geographic terrain to support that. Recently, Kathy Rayburn and I, last week, attended a Rotary luncheon, and Kathy, in her position as Director of Economic Development, gave an update over a number of businesses that are coming here soon. She also talked about the Victor Business Awards luncheon. And then I mentioned the town audits, being the courts, LDC, and the town audits, and the success of all three of those. Talked a bit about the Lord and Taylor public hearing process, and then also talked about the Adams Street extension, and the fact that the possible abandonment of the railroad tracks is in the hands of the Surface Transportation Board. Also in your mailbox recently was the Ontario County roadside mowing contract from April of this 2023 through April of 2024. It was a nice little additional money. And also want to, again, as I did last time, I want to again thank Councilman Cusimano, who's going at it, door-to-door campaigning for the second annual Climb Aboard. But he did. He knocked on numerous doors along Maple Avenue because he would like to utilize the parking, the fields behind, behind Maple Avenue in what is known as the Fireman's Field. So hopefully you will get that opportunity. In addition, you had the note from the Canandaigua supervisor regarding the townwide reevaluation. And then Tina Kolachik and I last Thursday attended a reasonable suspicion drug and alcohol training at the county. HealthWorks in Farmington put this on. So very informative, especially now with the state laws on cannabis. It was important for us to get an understanding of what responsibilities do we have. And that's all I have. Does any town board member have a committee they'd like to report on?
Excuse me, Supervisor, I just make one comment on the Victor Farmington ambulance sheet that you passed out for this month. I just wanted to make a quick note, kind of in relevance to the increased funding that we've done from the town side for the last few years. They break their call statistics down by kind of daytime, evening, and overnight hours. I know that they're still working towards like more of a 100% coverage of that secondary crew on the overnight, but I think it's pretty relevant and important to identify and ensure that we're offering our positive feedback as well to that organization, that their average response time in that overnight period, based on their 3 districts, averages somewhere in that 7 to 8 minute mark. I think if we looked at these numbers when I came onto the board 3 years ago, those numbers were above the 10-minute mark. So I know that we see that their response time is down 41 seconds from last year on average, year to date. 41 seconds doesn't seem like a whole lot of time until someone's laying dead on the ground. 41 seconds is a hell of a lot of time, and I think that the initiatives over there and the money that us in Farmington have put forth is tremendously impactful to them, and I think that they're doing an excellent job.
Councilman, thank you. Much appreciate your professional opinion on that. Any other board members?
Just real quick, in regards to the Veterans Monument out front, the emblems have now been shipped from the emblem company to the granite company, so we're still pushing hard to try to get it set by Memorial Day. I know that, Mark, you talked with John regarding the crane, so if they can get that stuff done, we're going to try to get it in before Memorial Day, but I'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Mark, we also thank you and John Turner for your support. Okay, moving to the business section, we have out of the Finance Department, this is amend the 2023 budget to include associated revenue and expense items for IT and security upgrades to the highway facility.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 2 is the authorization to enter into real property appraisal services with Midland Appraisal.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And number 3, the speed limit reduction on High Street from the Village Line to Lane Road. And again, thank you.
Second.
And again,
Supervisor Mayor, do you think we'll have any more luck with that? That has to go to state, right? So do you think we'll have any more luck with a letter about the accident with the student and the superintendent of schools also sending a letter of endorsement?
and we're hoping that the letters will help. The mayor had promised me a letter. I asked him to have that to me by tomorrow, so maybe give him a jingle, but we'll add that as well. I'm hoping so. These further additional documentations help. You'd like to think they would be listening to the school district for sure. Thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And number 4, appointment of Casey Page to the Transfer Station Department Head. And I did give you the latest update from Casey prior to the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, congratulations. Well
Well-deserved.
Yep. I did have the good pleasure the other day to mention this, was potential action to some folks from the county, and they were very pleased that Casey was going to get this recognition. So public comment, again, public comments? Susie, do you have? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.